From the wild world of D.C. politics to America's culture clash, brace yourself for the reality check you've been waiting for. The one and only Mike Gallagher Show.
Welcome in on this Friday edition of the Mike Gallagher Show, day 38 of the shutdown. Imagine, day 38. That's just unbelievable, isn't it? Had you told me on October the 1st that we would be talking about a shutdown on into November, I would have thought you were crazy. And it is crazy to think that we're still dealing with this. The House, of course, has not been in session for 49 days now because they passed their version of the clean continuing resolution back in September. The Senate is expected to vote again today for the 15th time on the House-passed stopgap funding bill that would fund the government through November 21st. Look, at this rate, it's going to be moot because we're going to be at November 21st, and they're going to start over again. Bipartisan negotiations are expected to continue, we're told, but there's not a whole lot of hope that anything is going to happen today. In fact, Senate Majority Leader John Thune is saying that he may send senators home over the weekend following today's vote, which he's expecting to fail. No decision on a schedule after that. Senator Thune, is basically just saying, hey, look, the Democrats have put us in this situation. Only the Democrats can get us out because we need some Democrat votes. Here's Senator Thune in cut number one.
Democrats instigated this shutdown by rejecting a clean, nonpartisan funding resolution. Republicans weren't asking them to swallow a bunch of new conservative policies. There isn't a single partisan policy in the bill. And yet Democrats couldn't bring themselves to take yes for an answer. Democrats, of course, have claimed their decision to shut down the government's about health care. They want Republicans to bail out their Obamacare mess. And as I've said probably 1,000 times now, Mr. President, Republicans are 100% willing to sit down and talk about the mess that Democrats have created. We're just not going to have that conversation while Democrats are holding the federal government hostage. That was our position in September. That was our position in October. And yes, it's still our position in November. We're just waiting for Democrats to take yes for an answer. Mr. President, I do know that Democrats have been under a lot of pressure from the far left. The far left pushed them to shut down the government. And the far left has pushed them to keep it shut down.
And look, he's right. But they're going to have to deal with the far left in their party. And I think that's why there was some optimism earlier in the week that maybe a deal could be made this week. But after Tuesday's elections, after they elected a socialist to be mayor of our largest city, I think the progressives, the party members that are extreme left in the party are saying, we don't need to give anything. We're in control here. We won elections on Tuesday. That just emboldened them to continue to hold on. And there's so much confusion, like with the SNAP program. There are many Americans out there, and I understand, look, we got to do something with the SNAP program anyway. There's so many illegals getting those benefits. But there are also true Americans who depend on those benefits as well, and they're confused. You had a federal judge yesterday who is saying that the Trump administration has to fund SNAP for November. Now, help me out here. I don't quite understand how a federal judge can make the federal government pay for something that they simply don't have the money to do because they haven't passed a budget. How does that work? If you know, I'd love for you to clue me in. 800-655-MIKE, 800-655-6453. You can text me. You can email me directly, joey@joeyhudson.com. You can call, and Alice will put you in queue. We'll talk as time permits. Also this week, We're seeing even more stress on the air traffic controllers. Earlier in the week, the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, warned us that there were going to start being reductions in capacity. That starts today. We're told that about 4% today, 5% tomorrow, 6% Sunday, with sometime next week going to the full 10% reduction. It's already having effect on air travel. That's why I'm sitting here talking with you today. Mike is traveling to Chicago for the big Freedom Summit tonight in Chicago with AM 560 The Answer. Had some trouble with his flight. Wasn't able to get there exactly when he thought he would. So I came in this morning to talk with you. But these are just some of the everyday things that are affecting everyday Americans. SNAP benefits, flights. And look, folks, this whole flight situation, that's going to get nasty. As people start traveling for Thanksgiving, if something's not worked out next week, it's already going to be disruptive. Because once you start canceling flights, and yesterday there were hundreds of cancellations, thousands of delays, it's a domino effect. And it takes a little while. It takes a few days, a few weeks to recover from that. So if you're planning to travel for Thanksgiving, if you're planning to get on an airplane, you may want to come up with a plan B. Because if this shutdown continues into next week, it's going to disrupt Thanksgiving travel. But there's a lot of other things that it's disrupting. Have you tried to call the IRS? Have you tried to call any federal government agency? And the crazy part of this, and this is what just really, really irritates me, these government workers are sitting at home, not working, and these services are going unmet. Only the essential ones. Now, thank goodness for TSA agents. Thank goodness for the federal law enforcement agents out there, the military, because they're working. They're really sacrificing because they're working, yet they're not getting paid. But what irritates me are those federal workers who are sitting at home playing video games right now, but yet when they go back to work, eventually they're going to be paid for this back time. But they didn't perform anything for those services, for that money. I think that they should all be working, continue government as best they can, because how's it going to change anything? You're not getting a paycheck. Either way. 800-655-6453, 800-655-MIKE. Love to get you to join the conversation. Text me. Email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Better yet, call. Alex will put you in queue as time permits. I'm Joey Hudson, in for Mike on this Friday edition of the Mike Gallagher Show.
Mike Gallagher.
Joey Hudson in for Mike today. 800-655-MIKE, 800-655-6453 is how you join the conversation. You can either call. Alex will put you in queue. You can text me on the MyPillow text line. You can email me direct, joey@joeyhudson.com. There's about 40% of Americans who are considered obese. President Trump announced yesterday, as part of his effort to decrease the cost of health care, decrease particularly the cost of pharmaceuticals, he announced a deal yesterday that would make some of the so-called GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic, some of those types of weight loss assistance drugs, they would make them affordable, would make them like Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk, two of the manufacturers of these very popular obesity drugs, and make them available to the American public more so than they are now. But they're very expensive if you've ever tried or had an interest in checking them out and purchasing them. Another group that's working to make health care costs more affordable for you, and portions of today's show is brought to you by the Conservatives for Lower Health Care Costs. President Trump, as mentioned, is doing his part. He's doing things that no other president's ever done, holding Big Pharma accountable for ripping off the American people. But Big Pharma and its army of lobbyists, and boy, they've got a lot of lobbyists, pay them a lot of money. They work overtime to keep Americans paying the world's highest prescription drug prices. They've already hiked prices on hundreds of medicines this year while flooding the airwaves with very misleading ads. Big Pharma's agenda in Washington is very simple. Escape accountability, block free market competition, and keep prices high. That means bigger profits for them and higher costs for families like you and me and small businesses. Conservatives for lower health care costs warns that their plan would saddle Americans and employers with billions in higher premiums and drug costs if Big Pharma is successful. President Trump isn't backing down, though. His administration is cracking down on companies that gouge patients and mislead the public, while conservatives in Congress push reforms to open the market and lower the costs. And the weight loss drugs yesterday was just an example of that. So join the fight. Visit pharmawindfall.com to help lower drug prices and hold Big Pharma accountable. That's pharmawindfall.com. Let's go straight to the phones. We're talking, of course, today about the shutdown. We continue to struggle with this. It's affecting a lot of people. Yesterday, a federal judge demanding that the Trump administration pay SNAP benefits, not just partial, like the president was planning to do. He is going to pull some money from reserve funds to do a partial benefit this month. This federal judge says, no, you got to pay all the benefits. You got to pay the full amount, and you got to do it quickly. Now, I don't know if he thinks that the president can just snap his fingers and money will appear to do that or what. I mean, the whole idea that they weren't paid to begin with was because the government's not funding, right? If the government's not funded, how does Trump abide by this decision? It's just another case of extreme judges not having a realistic and common sense approach to government. Does this judge has he not been paying attention to the news that we're at a stalemate here? The Senate has has failed 14 times to close cloture so that debate would stop and they could vote on this. Look, and that's the big holdup here. We need 60 votes. Once that threshold is met and they can take a vote to pass the continuing resolution, only takes a simple majority of 51 votes. We have those votes. In fact, there's 3 Democrats that have pretty much consistently voted with Republicans to close debate. Of course, John Fetterman from Pennsylvania, one of those. Cortez Masto from Nevada, and Senator King from Maine. Now, we have had one Republican, Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky, who has voted with the Democrats most of the time to not close debate. But, folks, as this drags on, and this is the longest close down we've ever had, so we don't have a good track record to know exactly how it's going to look past this point. Let's go to the phone and see what you think. Adam is in Michigan. Welcome, Adam. You're on the Mike Gallagher Show.
Hello, yes. My whole idea is, why don't they get the House back in, fully work out an actual budget, actually put together the plans to basically deal with Obamacare, dissolve it, get rid of it, and then have the Senate temporarily remove the filibuster and pass all this legislation and fix these damn problems and be done with it.
Well, but how's that going to be different than what's already happened, Adam? I mean, the House voted and passed their clean CR.
I'm talking about an actual full budget rather than just the CR. Get them back in there and do an actual budget.
Oh, wow.
Get them back in there to address Obamacare, basically trash Obamacare, because there's nothing salvageable in the program. I mean, it needs to be scrapped and start over.
Yeah, well, look, I agree with you, Adam. They do need to pass a full budget, but at this time, if they can't even pass this CR, I don't know that there's any hope.
Is get the House to get this legislation ready, and as soon as it's all ready, then send it over to the Senate and have the Senate temporarily lift the filibuster just so that they can get this business done. I'm not talking about, permanently removing the filibuster, just temporarily, a 30-day pause on the filibuster.
Yeah. Well, look, we got to do something. That's for sure. Because what they're doing now is not working, and it's starting to affect more and more people. A lot of people have just been living life happily ever after here. Hadn't really paid attention. They go to try to get some airline tickets to go see Grandma at Thanksgiving. They're having trouble, and those who have tickets, they may not even be worth anything. I mean, that's the problem right now. Gallagher had trouble getting to Chicago. That's why I'm sitting in with you today. 800-655-MIKE. Glad to have you in. I'm Joey Hudson. MyPillow. Go to MyPillow.com. Mike Lindell has some great deals. Up to 80% off of the standard MyPillow right now. $14.98. Has body pillows for $29.98. You get these great prices when you use promo code MikeG. The bolster pillows with a case, $19.98. They're made in America, the socks that Mike Lindell is so proud of. $3.99 with promo code MikeG. Mattress toppers, mattresses. Those mattress toppers, if you've been thinking about getting a new mattress, try the MyPillow mattress topper first. They are so comfortable, you won't even think about buying a new mattress. And again, you get a great deal when you use promo code MikeG at MyPillow.com. You can call 800-928-6034 and have your credit card ready and use promo code MikeG. Joey Hudson in for Mike as Mike is traveling today. Got caught up in the government shutdown, trying to make it to Chicago, where he'll be there tonight for the Freedom Summit.
Anti-Semitism, radical Islam, prophecy. It all collides in The Dragon's Prophecy. Watch it now or buy the DVD at salemnow.com. Mike Gallagher.
Joey Hudson in for Mike today on the MyPillow text line. Texter says, hey, Joey, you need to start telling all of your listeners to call their congressmen and senators. 60% off. Give out the phone number. Well, you do need to call your senator right now primarily. The House has done their job, although you can call them and let them know that we expect them to continue. But particularly those of you who live in a state who has a Democrat senator, I'm sorry for you. But call them. Let them know that you want the government shutdown to end, to get in there and do their job. Texter says, just a thought, instead of changing the rule eliminating the filibuster, why don't they change the rule that you have to actually filibuster on the floor like it was done years ago instead of just stating we are filibustering? Well, you know, it is kind of odd, isn't it? Because years ago, a filibuster meant that you had to keep the floor. You had to keep talking. My longtime senator from South Carolina, Strom Thurmond, at one point had the record for the longest filibuster in the U.S. Senate. He literally read from the phone book at times. But you're right. I mean, it's really they just say we're filibustering, and nobody's talking. They're having they're going to their cocktail receptions, and life is good. Texter, the Democrats don't fundraise. They steal and launder through NGOs. Texter, I think people are naive if they think Democrats won't go nuclear if they get back in control. If we don't do it first, we're going to lose America because no voting laws will change. They'll continue to cheat, and they'll be in power again. I honestly don't know the solution here because we're just at a stalemate. We're more divided than ever. When Nancy Pelosi announced yesterday that she's retiring, I'm thinking, thank goodness. Good riddance. Because people like Nancy Pelosi have done more to divide our country than ever before. And she's a prime example. She's the poster child of term limits. No way should somebody spend 4 decades in the U.S. House of Representatives. No way. 800-655-6453, 800-655-MIKE. Let's go back to the phones. Tom is in Philadelphia. Welcome, Tom. How are you?
Hi, Joey. How are you?
I'm wonderful. What's on your mind today?
Thanks for filling in for Mike. You do a great job.
Thank you, sir.
So I'll get to the point. I think that the Republicans have got to just go nuclear. We have to get rid of the filibuster, okay? I don't even know why it's there in the first place. And I don't like, what is the point of having a Senate majority leader if, we get all excited about winning the majority in the Senate. If you have to, have 60 to get anything done, what's the advantage of having, 50 even,
Yeah.
It's kind of silly. And it seems to me that our founding fathers built in a system of checks and balances so that, one party, or one branch of government can't take advantage of the others. So why not, why do the Republicans worry about, this is going to happen, if the next election, if the Democrats take control? The answer to the problem is win elections, okay?
Yeah.
And if they just blow up the filibuster, go nuclear, allow Trump to get stuff done, okay, and really, prove to the people of America that a government that comes through and does what it says that it is going to do, really can get things done, then you'll win the next election. Why are we worried about losing? Get stuff done and let's move forward. Have some courage. You know what? If you get all the things done that you say you're going to do, and you still lose the election, well, maybe you weren't working on the right things.
Yeah.
But let's win elections, and let's take advantage of the majority. If you have a majority, I think the full filibuster thing is a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it's been around, but they got to get rid of it. It's just stupid.
It's been part of the rules for a while. We at one point we did eliminate it, but we reinstated it. And I think the big problem, Tom, is people are just concerned about, if the Democrats have a narrow majority, say 51, what they would do with that, how they would abuse it. But you're right. It's kind of not working as it is now, is it? 800-655-MIKE, 800-655-6453. Coming up, Bernie Sanders has been hot and cold on the filibuster. When we return, I'm going to share with you some words from Bernie Sanders back in 2022 versus what he's saying today. Spoiler alert, he flip-flops. I'm Joey Hudson in for Mike. Yes. All right. So let's go back. Let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Kathleen. Kathleen, welcome. You're on the Mike Gallagher Show.
Yeah. This government shutdown is just insane, and I think of the Democrats as rats on a ship, and they better get off that ship because it's going to sink. I mean, it's stupid. People are not getting paid. I'm on food stamps, and I can't. I mean, I'm not going to have a very good Thanksgiving.
Well, a lot of people are not going to have a good Thanksgiving for various reasons, Kathleen. You're right. And to me, I sit here and I watch this and I hear these things, and it's like they're just all so selfish, aren't they?
Very much so.
I mean, these are...
Why should they get paid? Excuse me.
Yeah.
Why should they get paid for doing nothing?
Exactly. Well, and these are men and women who supposedly are leaders. They're servants. They're our servants. But yet their actions right now are anything but that. And it's time for them to sit down. It's time for Chuck Schumer, John Thune, anybody else that's considered leadership from both parties to sit down and work this out. I mean, time's up. Enough is enough. One caller earlier today had a great idea. He said, let's have a meeting of the Senate leadership, the House leadership, and President Trump in the Oval Office and stream it so all Americans can watch it and we can see how the negotiations go on. I think that's a pretty good idea, don't you?
I think that is a great idea.
Yeah. And, hey, Kathleen, you're in Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, I am.
So are you proud of John Fetterman? Because he seems to hang in there to realize we got to get something done.
I can't believe John Fetterman, but I am proud of him.
Yeah, as you should be. Appreciate your call, Kathleen. 800-655-6453. One line open. Jim is in Michigan. Welcome, Jim. You're on the Mike Gallagher Show.
Yeah, the filibuster has already been done away with when they're not talking on the floor and keeping it going that way. So actually it's not even a filibuster no more, so nuclearizing that isn't going to make no difference because it's already gone.
Yeah. Well, it's not the old-time filibuster to whether you actually have to keep the floor and keep talking or you relieve the floor to someone else. It's games. That's the bottom line. these are political games, and we're seeing a bunch of adults who are acting like children. Speaking of the filibuster, Bernie Sanders, back in 2022, during a very similar situation, he angrily demanded to put an end to the filibuster. He said, we have to do this, in cut number 8, we have to do this to save the American democracy.
Well, let's be clear. This enormously important bill, a bill to protect the foundations of American democracy, will fail. It will fail because, according to Senate rules, it will require 60 votes to pass, and in a 50-50 Senate, not one Republican will vote for it. My Republican colleagues who are so adamantly against changing rules, well, my goodness, they changed the Senate rules to allow 50 votes to confirm the president's nominees to the Supreme Court. Oh, my goodness, how shocking. Rules get changed around here all of the time. And maybe, just maybe, we might want to change the rules in order to save American democracy.
Well, that seems reasonable. That's kind of the situation we're in right now, aren't we? Maybe we need to change the rules. Well, Senator Bernie Sanders, fast forward 2025, has a little bit of a different attitude.
The Republicans understand that the filibuster is an important part of what the Senate is. Well, I think right now we should maintain the filibuster.
Maintain the filibuster. That's what the Democrat or the independent senator from Vermont says now. Interesting how quickly things can change, isn't it? 800-655-6453. Back to the phones. Morgan is in Georgia. Welcome, Morgan. You're on the Mike Gallagher Show.
Hey, how are you doing? Yeah, I mean, I think that, we have a lot of issues in America, but I think we have people in the government that hate this country. Yeah, and, I mean, it's pretty obvious, they're Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib. I mean, we have several others, and I think that a house divided like that cannot stand. And, you got people in there that want to turn our country and where they came from. And my thinking is, why would you even want to come here if that's what you want? Because that's what you had before you came to America. So anyway, I think that, we have a two-party system, which to me is like two wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner, honestly.
Yep.
I just think the two-party system's not working. You got people that are Republicans, and then they turn out to be rhinos, and they flip and they go with the Democrats. That's not good. That's not good politics. And I think that a lot of people expect the government to pay for everything, and I just don't think the government should pay for everything. I think that the majority of what the government should do is work out things that the American people can. A lot of things should be left in the state's hands.
Yeah. Bingo, Morgan. You just said it, Morgan. The government can't be everything to everybody, and that's the problem we have put ourselves in. Everybody depends on and relies on the government, and that's how the Democrats want it, though. That's how they think that they're getting votes. Is, hey, we'll give them everything. We'll continue the subsidies for Obamacare. Now, you do understand that this whole debate over Obamacare is not to eliminate Obamacare. It's to eliminate the heavy subsidies that were instituted during COVID. And, by the way, the Democrats agreed then that they would sunset those at the end of this year. Suddenly, the whole world's falling apart. There's a crisis because they're about to go away. It didn't sneak up on us. We knew from the beginning that they were going to expire at the end of this year. But it's just another example of the Democrats not being concerned about our country. Sanders talking about, we got to protect the democracy. Well, if you want to protect our country, don't spend us into bankruptcy. And that's what he's doing. And Morgan hit the nail on the head, as we say here in South Carolina. The government can't be expected to provide everything to everybody. You got to get out and work. You got to get out and provide for yourselves. And we have too many people on some type of government payroll right now. Whether, there's been a lot of discussion about SNAP. Well, look, there are a lot of people who are getting SNAP benefits who should not get SNAP benefits, period. So now's a good time to really dig in and look at those programs and start cutting them. We're never going to balance the budget if we keep spending the way we are and keep adding to it. We're never going to get back into to being fiscally responsible with our country's future, our children and our grandchildren's future. I mean, think about, did you ever think that our country would be in debt like we are today? That our interest payments alone are just astronomical? We can't keep doing that, folks. 800-655-6453, 800-655-MIKE. You can call. We'll put you in the queue and talk when we can. You can text me on the MyPillow text line. Email me directly, joey@joeyhudson.com. So the FAA says that they're going to do a 10% across-the-board cut in air capacity. You better be checking those airlines if you're planning to travel for Thanksgiving. That and much more coming up. I'm Joey Hudson, in for Mike today.